I'm Marina Zeely, and this is my project on the African American spiritual or enslaved people songs. And I would like to start off by saying that the African American spiritual or spirituals are a type of religious folk song that are most closely associated with the enslavement of African people in the American South. The songs proliferated in the last few decades of the 18th century, leading up to the abolishment of legalized slavery in the 1860s. The African American spiritual constitutes one of the largest and most significant forms of American folk song. It is important to note that many of the enslaved people songs I have chosen have been performed by famous white country music artists. For example, the song Boil Them Cabbage Down was performed on the Andy Griffith Show. Boil them cabbage down, bacon biscuits brown. The only song that I can sing is Boil them cabbage down. And by Hank Williams. This made finding the original versions of these pieces slightly difficult, but I felt that it was an interesting part of this process. Boil Them Cabbage Down is an example of a recreational song. Recreational songs not only raised the livelihood and morale of the enslaved people, but were also used to divert and distract attention away from the misery, distress, and fatigue that enslaved people felt daily. Fun was not an option for the enslaved person, yet recreational songs may have been the closest to any feelings of joy. Recreational songs were a form of stimulation, recreation, and entertainment amongst enslaved people. The song Boil Them Cabbage Down is an example of a recreational song from this time period. Boil Them Cabbage Down, also known as Bile 'em Cabbage Down, is an American folk song. Hoe cakes are a small cornmeal cakes that were baked over a fire on the blade of a hoe. A breakfast hoe cake and cabbage soup testifies to the humble origins of this song. According to Alan Lomax, musicologist and folklorist, formerly of the Library of Congress, this tune was originally associated with African American slaves brought from Niger.
Wish I had a nickel, wish I had a dime, I wish I had a dollar bill to give that girl of mine. Oh, boil them cabbage down, boil them cabbage down, boil them cabbage, boil them cabbage, boil them cabbage down. Cabbage when I'm hungry, whiskey when I'm dry. Greenbacks in my pocket, bring to bring that girl of mine. Oh, boil them cabbage down, boil them cabbage down. Boil them cabbage, boil them cabbage, boil them cabbage down. You can have your pork chops, meat and very kind, but give me pork chops and I'm glad to satisfy my mind. Oh, boil them cabbage down, boil them cabbage down, boil them cabbage, boil them cabbage, boil them cabbage down. Now I'm going to marry same old girl I found. Cause I'm crazy about the way she boils them cabbage down. Oh, boil them cabbage down, boil them cabbage down, boil them cabbage, boil them cabbage, boil them cabbage down.
Work songs, or African American work songs, originally developed in the era of slavery between the 17th and 19th centuries. Because they were a part of almost entirely oral culture, they had no fixed form and only began to be recorded as the era of slavery came to an end after 1865. Many songs sung by enslaved people have their origins in African song traditions and may have been sung to remind Africans of home, while others were instituted by the captors to raise morale and keep Africans working in rhythm. Work songs help to pass down information about the lived experience of enslaved people to their communities and families. An example of this is the Quittin' Time song.
Oh, the sun's going down and I won't be here long. Oh, the sun's going down and I won't be here long. Oh, then I'll be going home. Oh, I can't let this dark cloud catch me here. Oh, I can't stay here long. Oh, I'll be at
One of the prominent songs that was used by slaves in their work was the Quittin' Time song. Slave owners expected their slaves to sing. In fact, many slave masters discovered that drums could be used as a secret means of communication. Many of the slave owners were concerned that this secret means of communication could eventually lead to a slave uprising. As a result, drums were banned, but the enslaved Africans substituted hand clapping in place of the drums in order to reproduce the complex rhythms of African drumming. The African American spiritual, the black spiritual, or just spiritual music is a genre of Christian music that is associated with African Americans, which merged varied African cultural influences with the experiences of being held in bondage and slavery. At first during the transatlantic slave trade, and for centuries afterwards through the domestic slave trade. Spirituals encompass the sing songs, work songs, and plantation songs that evolved into the blues and gospel songs in church. In the 19th century, the word spirituals referred to all these subcategories of folk songs. House Done Built with No Hands is a great example of this.
Grandma Mary and Martha in the garden, watering the withered plant. Sister Mary took wings of the eagle, sailed away to Galilee. Oh Mary, me I go up with you. Oh Mary, me I go up with you. Why you going up yonder? House done be without hand up yonder. House done be without hand. Who told you? House done be without hand. Jesus told me. House done be without hand. Walk in. House done be without hand. Walk in. House done be without hand. Sit down. House done be without hand. Sit down. House done be without hand with the Father. House done be without hand in the Son. House done be without hand. Talk about. House done be without hand, where you from? House done be without hand, oh Mary, me I go up with you. Oh Mary, me I go up with you.
This song is based on Corinthians 5:1, which is based on the previous chapter that ended with the references to the great suffering experienced by Paul and those working with him to preach the gospel. Chapter and verse divisions were not part of the original text, so these words are meant as an uninterrupted flow of thought. In 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, Paul says he and his fellow workers had been afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed. In other words, the God who had allowed them to experience the great burden of suffering had also kept them from being physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually destroyed by it. My name is Marina Zealy. Thank you.